Davis tonight has struck out swinging twice and has flied to center. All of those at-bats against Webb. Here's the first pitch, a swing and a shallow fly ball, right center, racing in, Encarnacion, and on the run, he makes the catch. Nearly collided with Jung-Hoo Lee, who was coming in as well. Gerard Encarnacion is not a guy you want to run into, but they avoided one another. The play made, and the game is over. The Giants have beaten the Pirates 8-1.
Here's your host, Dieter Kurtenbach.
So last night, we were apoplectic, and rightfully so. That was one of the worst losses the Giants had all season. And tonight, I mean, that was a ho-hum victory. That is taking care of business through and through. Giants win 8-1. They're back to 500, back to third in the NL West. We'll see what happens around Major League Baseball, and we'll keep you updated as the night goes on. But an opportunity now to get within something possibly resembling striking distance of a wild card. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. 808 KNBR is the number if you want to get some thoughts on this game. Dieter Kurtenbach hanging out with you until 9 p.m. We'll talk some 49ers football a little bit later on as well. But a hell of a performance from the San Francisco Giants. That was a put up or shut up game, right? If the Giants go and they don't play well, if they follow up Monday's disaster with another loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who before moments ago had an undefeated record against the San Francisco Giants this year. Had they done that, curtains. Whatever minuscule hope you had for this team for the remainder of the season, whatever farcical concept of playoffs might have been dancing around in your heads, they would have been done. Because this game isn't so much about the standings. Today's game wasn't so much about the standings. This was about what this team has in the clubhouse, what this team has in terms of mental toughness, and how this team responds to adversity. It sounds cliche. It probably is, but I found that to be a emphatic performance from the San Francisco Giants tonight. I was so impressed through and through with how they played that game. Again, 8-1, the win. And there were moments where it was hairy. Let's be clear about that. The first couple innings, nobody's getting anything on Burrows. It doesn't look like they're going to hit tonight either. And come through. They came through. Christian Koss, who knew he had it in him? Gerard Encarnacion, we knew he had it in him. We just hadn't seen him all year. Devers gets you an RBI. Willie Adames gets a 2-run home run. And then Patrick Bailey caps it off. But the home run leading the way for the San Francisco Giants tonight. And Logan Webb leading the way for the San Francisco Giants tonight. In last night's show, I made it pretty clear. This was, as much as it was a put up or shut up game for the San Francisco Giants, this was a statement game for Logan Webb. We talk about Logan Webb in exalted tones. After tonight, validated those tones, right? We talk about Logan Webb. He's obviously the best pitcher on this team, but when we talk about aces, when we talk about number ones, when we talk about guys who you want to have the ball in their hands when the cheese is most binding, when backs are against the wall, that's what today was for the San Francisco Giants team. It might feel inconsequential that it's August 5th and, hey, what's it matter? They're 6 out and they're sub 500. No, there's some consequence here. It might not mean anything at the end of the 2025 season, but it might mean something going into the 26 season, right? What they do for the rest of the year might actually build some momentum going into next year, because it's not as if there's going to be wholesale changes. Under the prior regime, you didn't know what you were getting year over year. You just didn't, because the roster was moved around so often, you had no idea if there was going to be an entirely new roster. No one had big contracts. You could mix and match. It was like you were going to the grocery store and buying the entire month's worth of groceries for every new season, right? This year, you got some staples. You have some guys. Like it or not, Willie Adames ain't going anywhere. And today, it's something to like. Matt Chapman's not going anywhere. Elliot Ramos isn't going anywhere. Jung-Hoo Lee isn't going anywhere. Rafael Devers isn't going anywhere. And it's a damn good thing that Logan Webb isn't going anywhere because, again, today was a statement game for Logan Webb. And this is the kind of game that I'm not saying that they're going to go on some great run here, but if they can play above average baseball from here on out, they might sniff the playoff race, just the race, and they might build some momentum for next year. And it had to happen tonight. Tonight had to be a win. In a season where, you can chalk one up to, it's just how it goes, and you win one, but it doesn't feel like that's a party starter. Tonight was a game where you needed an outcome, and the Giants delivered it, and they delivered it in spades. It was never truly in doubt. And again, Logan Webb leading the way. 6 innings pitched, 7 hits allowed. Okay, not great, but that's Logan Webb, but 1 run. No walks, 10 strikeouts, ERA's 3.24. And a couple of things that really stood out to me from Webb's performance tonight. The 3rd inning, he's in a jam. Right? The Giants give him 2 at the top of the 3rd. And then Logan looks like with 4 straight hits against him, looks like he's going to give it all the way back. And it's just going to be another miserable night of Giants baseball. Another night of torture. Bases are loaded. He gets out of it. He gives up a run, yes. Okay. In that situation, giving up 1 run is great work. He gutted through it. He knew the severity of the moment. He knew that the game, in many effects, was on the line there in the 3rd inning. And he pitched his best after giving up 4 straight hits. And credit to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I thought they had a good game plan tonight at the plate, right? It's not as if they didn't just see this guy. It's not as if they didn't know, hey, he's going to be leaning on the changeup because it was so effective against these guys just a week ago. They just saw him. They don't need the game plan to be reiterated again and again and again. They just saw him. And they were on top of a lot of things. There were some good at-bats from the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're not a very talented team, but they put some good at-bats up there. Logan Webb was just better because he's the all-star. He's the guy who you want the ball in his hands in these big situations. And there have been a couple of them so far this season, and he hasn't come through. Good to see him come through in this way. Reaffirms what so many people say. Gets me on the bandwagon. Great job from Logan Webb. And then a little bit of a bleep you Dieter from Logan Webb tonight. I know it wasn't personal, but Logan Webb, 97 pitches after 5, right? He was laboring a little bit. Give a 5 straight hits, you're going to have a bunch of pitches in the 3rd inning. Man, coming back out after 97 pitches in the year of our Lord 2025, that's some guts. That's some big-time cojones. That's some stones, man. And he was great. He was great. And you're watching the broadcast, and I think Dave Fleming suggested that he might be out there until he gives up a base runner, and he gave up a base runner. What'd he do? 1 pitch, out of the inning, worked. He was just magnificent. No walks. When was the last time that happened? We'll have to get the crack research team on that one. No walks, 10 strikeouts. And it wasn't his best stuff. This wasn't some elite night from Logan Webb as it pertains to his stuff. But I'll say this. I love the pitch mix, easy for me to say, this evening. Love it. Love it. He was heavy on the sinker. Yeah, he threw the changeup a lot. It was successful the last time around. It should still be successful. But he wasn't overly reliant on it. And the sweeper was there, but he didn't feel like it wasn't a crutch for him. That sweeper has changed the game for him a little bit. And I thought when he was kind of getting into trouble there in July, he would just be overly reliant on the sweeper. He's got to be a sinker ball pitcher. He's got to lean on the sinker. I understand that in the modern game, everyone's trying to throw the breaking pitches as much as possible. Everyone's trying to be craftier. You got to throw your best stuff all the time. His best pitch is still the sinker. I don't care what the Stuff Plus model says. He got into this league as a sinker ball pitcher. He's going to get a plaque on the Giants Wall of Fame as a sinker ball pitcher, maybe more. Who's to say how long he goes? He has to rely on the sinker. And tonight he did, and tonight the sinker was damn good. It was damn good. It was better than the changeup, frankly. Changeup, Pirates were on top of it. If it was in the zone, there was a 92% contact rate. Right? He only had 4 whiffs on the changeup all night. He had 6 whiffs on the sinker, on top of 10 called strikes. I mean, that's 40% of his pitches swinging or called strikes on the sinker. That's really good. It's really good stuff. And he was in the zone with it consistently. 7 out of 10 pitches on the sinker were in the zone. Change up, he's working the bottom of the zone. Sweeper, he's trying to go outside the zone. I don't worry too much about zone percentage on stuff like that. But I thought the sinker was really, really good. And it's on nights like this when you say, hey, Logan, we need you. We need you at your best. It's good to see that he's leaning on his best, because as much as it has been a boon to him this season that he is mixing in more pitches, that he is a more diverse pitcher, and the strikeout numbers really speak to that, you have to know what your foundation is. You cannot lose what got you to the point where you were already a number one starter, already an all-star, already a Giants legend. You can't lose that for the sake of trying something new, because he didn't need to do something new. That is just augmentation to what is already excellent and great about Logan Webb, and it was great to see him push it tonight with that sinker. He threw 40 of them, and it was 16 called strikes and whiffs on 40 sinkers. That's a really nice night for Logan Webb on a pitch that is not particularly a swing and miss pitch, but he got 6 whiffs on it, and only 4 on the changeup, which, again, I like that it was still mixed in there. And I thought that the Pirates were on top of it early, and he did a really nice job of working his pitch mix as to not be predictable, as to not find himself in trouble. And then he comes out and he guts his way to 110 pitches. Again, 110 pitches for Logan Webb. Would have been nice if he was a bit more efficient. That wasn't the way it went down tonight. But he still gave the Giants exactly what they needed, more than a good enough chance to win. They take full advantage at the plate. The bullpen's able to hold everything without any fuss or muss. That was a autopilot to the end of game tonight. And the Giants have a real shot tomorrow to actually get a little bit of momentum going. The Giants have a real shot tomorrow to come back to San Francisco feeling pretty damn good about themselves. For all the things that have negatively happened, for all the question marks we still have about this team, and all of them warranted, they have a real shot coming into the series against the Washington Nationals to put themselves in a solid position to maybe make something out of this. Outside shot, sure, but they got a shot nevertheless. And while, again, I still don't think that anything's going to come of it, I think that they did too much damage in the month of July, and that it's very difficult to imagine this baseball team winning 2 out of 3 in every series from here on out. The fact of the matter is they have 7 games against the Padres over the next 14 games. The Padres are a wild card team. The Giants will either be 5.5 or 6.5, or it would be 5 or 6 games back of them at the end of tonight. If you get within 4 of the Padres going into next Monday's series at Oracle Park, we can talk about it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's likely, but if you're within 4 and you have 7 games to play over the next 2 weeks, you can have a conversation. It's an outside shot. Making up 4 games is tough. But the Giants, I mean, they leapfrogged the Cardinals in the standings tonight. The Reds are still there. And frankly, I don't see any reason to fear the Cincinnati Reds. You got to keep your eye on the Padres. You got to be thinking about the Padres day in and day out. Right now, 5.5 back. We'll see what happens in the Padres game against the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. We'll keep you updated. But you got 7 games against them over the next 14 days to close out your season series. So if you get some momentum here, and that carries into the series against the Nats, and then you say, hey, we got a little bit of a shot here, you better take advantage. You got an opportunity. You got an opportunity. An outside shot, sure, to make up that kind of distance. But you could really do some damage to the Padres over that 7-game stretch next week and the week after. And then, by the way, I don't know if the Cardinals will still be in it then, but you get 6 against the Cardinals in September. So, well, I haven't looked on FanGraphs and whatever percentage they say the playoffs are. And again, I'm very firmly on the on the side of it is more unlikely than likely that the Giants have anything worthwhile in the final weeks of the season to be playing for. I think this season is all about experimentation. I think this season is all about momentum building for next year. I think this season is all about figuring out what it is you have, what it is you need, and what it is you want, at least from your minor league system. I think that we are in a developmental stage, an experimental stage. We're playing for 26 right now. But maybe the Giants can have something to play for in 25. It's going to take a hell of a lot of work But if they play like they did tonight, why the hell not? Just win series. And tomorrow you get Robbie Ray on the bump just after dawn. I think the game's at 9:35, but yeah, with the way the Pirates came out tonight, it might be at about 10. Pirates decided to take their precious time coming onto the field this evening. Don't know what that was about. Regardless, there is an outside shot here, but you got to take care of business tomorrow the same way you took care of business tonight. You got to take care of business against the Nats. The margin for error for this Giants team is nil after Monday's loss, but they are off to a good start in this incredible sprint that they'll have to be on. Good jump out of the gates in a put up or shut up game. The Giants put up, unquestionably. Absolutely nothing to complain about with the San Francisco Giants tonight. Outstanding performance, and we'll get into it with you guys on the other side of the break. Kurtenbach with you until 9 p.m. on the Sports Leader.
Now, from the O'Donnell Financial Group Sports Desk. Learn more at odfigroup.com. O'Donnell Financial Group, because planning is a process, not a product.
The Giants bounce back against the Padres. We'll take your calls next, right here on Sportsphone KNBR.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
For him as he swings, drives a high fly ball, deep left, a good ride. Pham is back. It is gone. Welcome back indeed, Christian Koss.
Who knew? Christian Koss, the next Jeff Kunt. He put a charge into it. It was jarring to see how fast the ball came off his bat. He's a little guy. Well, let's be clear here. Christian Koss looks like a guy who's looking to get a double, right? A little Brian Roberts action, a little Dustin Pedroia energy on that guy. A little Brandon Phillips energy. You're not thinking that Christian Koss is going to go 107 off the bat, more than 400 to deep left, but that's what he did. And you know what? Good on Bob Melvin getting him in the lineup. I've been liking what I've been seeing from Casey Schmidt. I would have liked to have seen Casey Schmidt in the lineup today. When the lineup came out, I'm like, man, what are we doing with Koss? What are we doing? That's what we're doing. That's a fun little battle now here. If we're not going to be worrying about the wild card chase, if the Giants are going to disqualify themselves from that, and they still have a little bit more work to do in that regard, but it could be imminent. We're going to be looking for interesting things for 26. One of them is who wants to be the second baseman on this team. And I think Christian Koss tonight showed me something. We know that he's got a great glove at second. I'm not sure it's better than Schmidt's, but something to watch there. And Schmidt's been hitting the cover off the ball. I've been loving his at-bats. That's something to watch because shortstop's taken. Third base is taken. First base is going to be a rotation of incapable fielders. It's going to be like, in Little League. Just put your biggest guy at first. We're going to figure out what's going on in right field. Gerard Encarnacion making a nice statement today in his quasi debut. Was this his third debut of the season? He had 22 at-bats coming in to today. I mean, it felt like this was the first time we've seen Gerard Encarnacion all year. I was able to leave for a month and a half. Gerard Encarnacion, not a factor. He was a factor tonight. My goodness. Nice defensive play and an absolute bomb to center field. So a couple things to keep an eye on, a couple things to note, a couple things to keep our attention. We'll get into all that a little bit later on in the show, but we got to get into these calls. 808 KNBR is the number if you want to talk Giants, or hey, if you want to talk 49ers or Warriors, we're here for you as well. That's what this show's all about. So let's stop it with my dilly-dallying and my bloviating, and let's go to Brooklyn Bob in Nevada. He wants to talk Giants, and we're here for him. Bob, how you doing this evening? Bob, you with me? We're not getting Bob clear through here. Bob, if you could call back maybe on a cleaner line, we'd love to hear from you. But let's go to Mo in San Francisco. Mo, you're on the leader.
Good evening, and thanks for taking my call. You took the words out of my mouth about Logan Webb and his cojones coming out of after a 97 pitch fifth inning. And I think he was pissed that he got taken out after the fifth inning last start. I could
That's a
see
great call.
when Melvin replaced him, he wasn't happy about that. And whether he convinced Melvin to let him pitch the sixth or not, he was in there, and that guy is stellar. I mean, he's in the pantheon of great Giants pitchers already, and hopefully we have him for another 5 or 6 years in the form he's producing. Now, the Giants have given us, the fans, the spectrum of what it is, in what baseball is all about. They've won close games, they've won walk-off games, they've played miserable defense, and they've also shown what kind of resilience they have after a devastating loss. Not just yesterday, but against the Mets, they did the same thing. They come back with 9 runs. They come back with 8 runs tonight. It's quite a team, and I agree with you that they have something going for 2026. But they also have a chance in 2025. I was looking at the September schedule. They play St. Louis. They play Arizona. They play
a lot of Dodgers.
I forget who
a lot
else.
of Colorado.
They play Colorado. And they have a chance to take those series, if not sweep some of them. So 2025 may still be in play.
Yeah, I really do think that the Giants need to get within 4 of San Diego going into Monday's series opener with 7 games. They got a 3-game set at Oracle Park next week. They have a 4-game set at Petco Park amid just a kind of a hellacious run here. They'll have 3 against Tampa at Oracle Park next weekend. And then 4 against the Padres right after that. And then they get 3 against the Brewers, who apparently have the best record in baseball. Could have fooled me, but 3 against the Brewers in Milwaukee right after that. And then the Cubs, after 1 day off, that is a hell of a stretch. Tampa's always a tough team to play. They're just difficult to game plan for. The Padres, that's a great rivalry. Brewers are playing great baseball, and the Cubs aren't far behind them. So a real put up. I mean, we talk about a put up or shut up game tonight, and all of these positive vibes might be completely moot by tomorrow if Robbie Ray doesn't go out and do what Logan Webb did this evening. But and if they don't take care of business against a Nationals team that is asking to get beat with the way they're playing right now. But there's absolutely still a shot. I think it's an outside shot. I wouldn't exactly go and put my kids' college funds on it right now, but something to play for, to be sure. And every game matters. I think that's the biggest thing. The margin for error for this team is next to nothing after some of the losses that they've had. I know they only count as 1 in the column, but you have to win 2 out of every 3 from here on out. And if you lose to the Pirates tomorrow, man, well, then you just lost another series. And how many more series can you drop? It can't be more than 1 or 2 from here on out. So a lot to look forward to tomorrow. It's high-stakes baseball for the San Francisco Giants on August 6th. That's a good thing for us if we're looking for intrigue. Not a great thing for the Giants, but that's the situation they're in. And I hope that the guts that we saw tonight, not just from Logan Webb, obviously, but from the entire team, showing up and performing the way that they performed, playing good defense, hitting the crap out of the ball, and then, the bullpen backing up Logan Webb so that it wasn't in any way hairy. If you can put another clean game out there, you should absolutely beat Pittsburgh tomorrow with Robbie Ray on the mound. And now you got something going into that national series, and you can snowball this thing. But it had to start tonight. It has to continue tomorrow. The margin for error is next to nothing, but they're not out of it entirely yet. And it's going to keep us watching for sure in the days and hopefully weeks to come, and maybe even months to come. But a lot of opportunity for the Giants if they can take care of business. But there's business to be attended to in the upcoming hours, right? Like 13 hours from now, they're going to have to be taking care of business in Pittsburgh. Let's go to Wyatt in Seattle. Wyatt, you want to talk Giants? We're here for you. How you doing, Wyatt?
Not too bad. Just finishing up here at work. I was just calling in because I've been really feeling like the last couple weeks the Giants have been pressing way too hard, and it's putting a lot of pressure on the rookies and stuff like that, and some of the younger players, and that they were just kind of crumbling underneath the pressure. And now that the trade deadline's gone and passed, and we've kind of semi-folded on the season, I think it's actually opened it up the chance of us, going on a spree here and actually trying to get back into it.
There's something to that, to be sure. I mean, I haven't been in the clubhouse as of late. I can't speak to the way that the vibes are being handled there, or one way or another. But they're certainly in a position now where this team gets to experiment a little bit more. That there is, as much as I say, the margin for error for this team right now, given where they're at in the standings, given what their record is at 500, given everything that's going on, like the margin for error might be zero as to make the playoffs this year, but they are giving a lot of guys some real rope here to figure out if they can do something for this Giants club for the remainder of this year and more importantly for next year. So you're getting, an opportunity, Gerard Encarnacion, hey, you're back, you're in the lineup, man. Let's see what you got. Christian Koss, you want to play? Go out there. Let's see what you got at second base. We're going to be finding out what Rafi Devers is about at first base. I want to see more guys up, especially if this thing does get away from them. And that doesn't mean that you're not trying to win games, but it is a little bit looser. Yeah, if they lose a couple here, it's going to get a hell of a lot looser. But in the meantime, Bob Melvin's trying stuff. I wish I would, again, I'd want him to be a little bit more aggressive. I'd like him to be a little bit more avant-garde, mix up the lineups a little bit more, not just the players, but the lineups. But as it stands right now, that semi-punt of the season, they lost a good deal of talent. They're not as good of a baseball team as they were before the trade deadline, but they might be a looser baseball team now after the deadline, and maybe that manifested in today's game. I'm not going to read into it too far. I don't think that you're in any way wrong. I think that that's a good take. That this is a baseball team that does not feel like it has a lot of weight on its shoulders right now. I'd like to see the weight get put back on. I'd like to see them feel a little bit stressed out because that means they're playing for something heavy. And that was certainly the case before the trade deadline. It felt like they were really playing for something. And with that pressure, not everyone performed. And now that pressure's off, maybe there's some better performances. But I'm always going to gear towards wanting that pressure because that means there's something worthwhile on the other side. Appreciate the call, Wyatt. Good stuff. Let's quickly, before we get out of here, an 808 KNBR, if you want to hop in on the conversation, we'll talk 49ers and Warriors with you as well. We'll talk anything with you as well. It's 7-11 on the West Coast on a Tuesday night. The Giants just won. We can keep talking Giants. We can go any direction you want at this juncture. But what stood out to me tonight, not just Logan Webb, not just the home runs. I don't know if I certainly have not given that enough attention so far in the first 30, 40 minutes of the show. The home runs won the game, right? Logan Webb has pitched like that and lost games before. It was the home runs that won the game. It was Koss with the bomb. It was Encarnacion with the bomb. It was Willie Adames giving you those insurance runs when you really needed them. That's the victory. 3 home runs in a game. We'll have to get the crack research team on this. I'm not the man to answer the question. It doesn't happen all that often for the San Francisco Giants. They have 105 home runs on the year going into tonight's game. That's 5th worst in baseball. Total bases, 4th worst in baseball. Runs, 9th worst in baseball. Like, I understand. I very much understand that the Giants are trying to play baseball a different way from everyone else because of their ballpark. I know that Buster, in the way that he's drafted, the way that the prospects he acquired via trade at the deadline are telling a story as well. For every Bryce Eldridge, there's like 2 or 3 guys who look like they have, line to line drive kind of power, guys who are going for doubles and, triples, guys who are contact first, but have a little bit of pop. There's a type that Buster's looking for, and it's a type that fits the ballpark. But I still think the long ball is king. I don't know what's going on with the ball these days. I don't know if it's juiced or if the humidor is on or off. I don't know. I don't know what Rob Manfred's doing to juice the. But I can tell you this: I don't want the Giants to sacrifice the concept of power because of the ballpark. I find the argument of, well, you can't really get power because of the ballpark. Like, that's ridiculous to me. And obviously when they got Rafi Devers, I think Buster showed like that's a bit of a ridiculous concept to him too. All for the way that they've been handling business, and I'm all for having good contact hitters. But the long ball is still king in Major League Baseball. And I just don't want to hear the argument that the Giants can't have it, because I've seen it. And I'm not talking about 2002, and I'm not talking about the 80s. I'm talking about 2021. The Giants led the National League in home runs with 241 home runs in 2021. And they won more than 100 games. Like, they hit the long ball that season, and they were exceptional. They haven't hit the long ball since, and they've been mediocre at best. I need the long ball. And with Chapman and Adames, those guys probably aren't 30 home run dudes, if we're being honest, especially not at Oracle Park. I think Devers can absolutely get there with a full season at Oracle Park. And I expect Rafi Devers next year to be a much better spot than he was this year. I wouldn't be stunned at all if in September Rafi Devers just goes thermonuclear, because he never really got a spring training. A lot of nonsense, right? He was kind of holding out and stuff. And then the first couple of weeks, months of the season, it's a media circus in Boston. I mean, you think that I'm bloviating and that I'm coming in harsh and hard. They got 3 radio stations, and every host on there is like 10 times heavier than me. Not physically, but, in their tone of voice. And it's just got to weigh on anybody. It's got to weigh on anybody knowing that all eyes are on you, not necessarily because you're the star of the team, but because of some nonsense that was happening off the field. And it's a toxic scenario happening all around you. And you're part of it, to be sure. But it is loaded and everything is charged. And I can't imagine you're going to be playing your best baseball in that environment. And now you get sent to the National League, and now you get sent to a ballpark that's going to zap a lot of your home run power. And now you're playing first base and all these things. Like, Rafi Devers will get his feet under him at some point because he's too good not to. And when he does, look the hell out, because that guy is as talented a hitter as anybody in baseball, save for maybe, Schwarber, Harper, and Ohtani. Outside of that, Rafi Devers is in the class, and maybe he's even in that Schwarber class because he can actually, hit something other than dingers. It wouldn't shock me at all if in September Rafi Devers just goes thermonuclear, because he finally gets his feet under him. He's finally feeling comfortable, and here we go. I'm going to be Rafi Devers, all-star, Silver Slugger again. But I fully expect that to be the case in 20. I expect a big Rafi Devers year in 26. And I'm expecting 30 home runs. And I'm expecting 100 RBIs. And I'm expecting him to be hitting 2, 3, or 4 every day. I'm expecting big things from Devers in 26. And I'm excited for it. You know what you're getting from Chapman. I expect Adames will be a little bit better, right? He's a streaky hitter. He's always been a streaky hitter. He's like Chapman. A little bit frustrating that they put 2 streaky hitters on the same side of the infield, and you're just hoping that, I don't know, are you hoping that they align and they're both hot at the same time, or that they're staggering a little bit so that at least one of them's up and the other one's down? There's a little bit something there. Elliot Ramos will be a year older, a year wiser. He's a hell of a baseball player. Jung-Hoo Lee's starting to show us something now. Keeping an eye on Jung-Hoo Lee from here on out. And then you get Encarnacion. Hey, who knows who's going to be the second baseman? You're feeling good about Bailey as a defender, but I don't think he could be any worse offensively than he's been this year. And it's starting to come around a little bit for him too, don't get me wrong. But like, now you can start talking yourself into, hey, there might be an offense on this San Francisco Giants team. And it's not as if they won't have a little bit of cash to flash as well this upcoming offseason, right? So all of those things to say, Buster's setting up this team to be able to hit the long ball. And I think the long ball is still going to be king. And that's why Encarnacion and Koss hitting home runs is so important. Because I think whomever hits the most home runs in right field and at second base should get the job, at least the inside track of the job, going into 26. I need the long ball. Long ball is still king. And for all the talk about Oracle Park and getting Brandon belted out into Triples Alley and all that, like, nah, I just don't buy into it. I just don't think that it's a full excuse, the same way that a lot of other people just use it as a full excuse. Not saying it's inconsequential. I'm just not saying it's a full excuse, because I saw this team lead the National League in home runs this decade, and it was their most successful season by far. And that should be the goal. Recreate that. Don't worry about Rob Manfred. Don't worry about the ballpark. Hey, you gotta be even better because you have to overcome the ballpark. Be even better. That's the standard. Let the other team have to worry about the ball dying in triples alley. You're so good it doesn't matter for you. I want to see the long ball, and tonight was a great sign. I want to see a lot more games like this. They're not all going to be pitched this well, but they can all be hit this well. They really can. I can see a lot more 2-3 home run games. Let's not try to be manufacturing anything. It might not be the classic National League baseball. It might not be what you particularly like, but I do think it is the way to victory in Major League Baseball in 2025 and beyond, because it's been that way now for 10 years? I don't think it's changing. I don't think the dead ball era where the Giants were so successful from 2009 to about 2014, 2015, I don't think it's coming back. I don't think it's coming back, either because Rob Manfred has his hand on the scales or because every team is so analytically charged that they've figured out a way to prevent it from ever happening again. But the dead ball era, which was so good to San Francisco, ain't coming back. So you got to play in the modern game. You got to try to recreate 2021. I think the Giants have some of the pieces in place, if not the majority of the pieces in place, to absolutely do that. It's now about seeing it. And tonight was just, 1 out of 162. But tonight's a good example of how important the long ball is when you're trying to win baseball games. Let's see a couple more tomorrow. Why not? Why not? We're going to talk some San Francisco Giants, a little bit of Warriors, your calls as well. 808 KNBR is the number. Kurtenbach hanging out with you until 9 p.m. on The Sports Leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Hitting is hard enough. Now Encarnacion, a high drive, straightaway center, way back. It is gone. Gerard Encarnacion to straightaway center here in Pittsburgh.
The long ball is king. And Gerard Encarnacion, he was somebody that the Giants in spring training, and he had a great spring training until he broke his wrist. Somebody that they were really counting on. And in retrospect, that's something that maybe we should have looked at and said, I'm not so sure about this baseball team. They're openly saying that they really need Gerard Encarnacion. Needs a strong word there, boys. And, truth be told, it kind of looks like they do. It looks like they need somebody with that kind of serious bop. The same way that they needed a Jorge Soler last year, but never really got. And same way, just go down the line. One game doesn't justify everything and just justify those statements, but it is something that I was thinking about is he just hit an absolute yak tonight. What would this team's outcome be any different? Would we be talking different about the San Francisco Giants right now if Gerard Encarnacion was on this team? Maybe they were right in spring training saying he was vitally. He does have an element that before Devers, this team didn't really have, which is somebody who's up there who can just bomb 450 if he had to. And that might be more psychological than box score, but it matters. It matters having someone who can just hit absolute tanks. It does. When you're trying to get through a lineup as a pitcher, and a guy like Gerard Encarnacion comes to the plate, or Giancarlo Stanton, or maybe it's unfair to put those two in the same category, but you get the archetype I'm going for here. When that guy comes up, and maybe you just walked a guy or two, maybe you're having trouble finding the plate, and you're thinking, man, I really need to throw a fastball over the plate. I don't want to see it go 500 feet the other direction. That's a win. That's a psychological win. And it's not something for as great as these guys. It's not something that Matt Chapman really instills fear into other people. He can hit it far, don't get me wrong, but he's not that guy. You don't think that with Willy Adames. I don't think you think it with Elliot Ramos, but he's probably closer. I do think you think it with Devers these days. Maybe not right now, but certainly he's built up something close to that reputation. I guess you have to say it with Christian Koss with the bomb he hit today. I mean, just striking fear into the hearts of pitchers all across the National and American leagues. Christian Koss, look out. Small but mighty. The new Mookie Betts. I mean, listen, I'm just going off the evidence that I saw today. I do wonder how this Encarnacion thing plays out. It's something that I'm fascinated to see, because this is a massive momentum builder for 26 if Gerard Encarnacion is the player they expected him to be, but they never really had this season. Sucks that he wasn't around. I mean, it might fundamentally change the San Francisco Giants campaign. Maybe not. But the fact that he wasn't around up until about now, I think 22 at-bats coming into today, and then today just, does the Gerard Encarnacion thing. It's food for thought, and we'll have a better read on this, because hopefully he stays healthy for the rest of the season, and he should get plenty of at-bats. One final note here on the Giants before we talk a smidge Warriors. Logan Webb, 10 strikeouts today, back-to-back 10 strikeout games. Second time he's done that in his career. From 2019 to 2024, Logan Webb had 7 games with 10 strikeouts. It's a lot of innings in there. 2019 to 2024, 7 games with 10 or more strikeouts. He has 6 of them this year. This has been Logan Webb's best year as a starter for the San Francisco Giants. It's a guy who was runner-up for Cy Young last year, if I remember correctly. This has been his best year because he is a different pitcher this year while maintaining all the positives that he had. And tonight, again, a masterful performance. It's against Pittsburgh. You do have to grade on the curve a smidge. But then again, Pittsburgh just saw him. They just couldn't hit his changeup. They knew coming in he's going to throw the changeup, and I thought he did a really nice job with them being all over that changeup, getting the sinker to be effective and getting the sinker to be a strikeout pitch. That is the growth of Logan Webb. This is a guy who was just, pitching to contact, just eating innings, very good at it, outstanding at it. He was like it's like a bigger John Garland. Shout out the 2005 Chicago White Sox. Just, we're getting through. I'm going to give you 7 or 8 innings. They're going to be good. You're going to give up, 2, 3, 4 runs. It's going to be a crisp game. The defense is going to be active. I'll give you 4 or 5 strikeouts. But I'm up here to eat some innings in the best way possible, the most effective way possible. This year, he's out there for blood. He's out there to strike you out. He's out there to make sure that if you get a hit, it's only a single. He is embracing baseball 2025. And the cool part about that is I really hope that I'm not jinxing him here. It would be brutal. It'd be brutal. But, a caller earlier said, I hope we have him for, years to come. And obviously that's everybody's hope. The issue is that so many of the great starting pitchers in this day and age, like every game feels like it could be their last. They're like running backs in the NFL. They're here for a good time, not for a long time. But that's not the Logan Webb archetype. That's not the Logan Webb model. And I don't see a reason why, again, hope it's not a jinx here. I don't see a reason why he can't be doing what he's doing in perpetuity. A guy who's still going to give you 200 innings, who's still going to be eating those innings up, who's still going to be that reliable guy that you can count on every 5 days, week in, week out. The way that, who else can you say that about in baseball these days? What other starting pitcher is actually like there for you and reliable the way that Logan Webb is? I don't know. Very few. And he's been doing it for a long time now. 1,000 innings for the San Francisco Giants as of today. So it's not as if he's going up there and tossing a bunch of Frisbee balls to where you're like, man, there's a reckoning coming, and you just hope you can get the most out of him between now and then. He's still doing that same thing, which you thought, hey, you could pitch forever doing that. He's still doing that while giving you elite strikeout numbers, giving you double-digit strikeout performances 6 times this year after having 7 games as such his entire major league career before that. Logan Webb, what a dude, and a vital piece to whatever it is the Giants are doing moving forward. And I said it last night going into today's game. I had to see a game like this. I wanted a game like this. It's not because Logan Webb doesn't have an incredible track record. It's because this was a put up or shut up game, unquestionably for the San Francisco Giants, and this is your ace. And so that should be a perfect alignment. That should be exactly what you want. The guy that you want on the bump in a game that you have to win, and this should be no nonsense. It should be exactly what it turned out to be. Kudos to everybody. That is a true ace performance from Logan Webb. Gutting it out, 110 pitches, giving you everything he had, wanting even more than he should have given you. Taking it. Just taking it. Shoving. And then the offense backs him up in a big way with 3 dingers tonight. 10 out of 10 performance from the San Francisco Giants in a season where there have not been enough games where we can say that. There just haven't been. And hopefully there are many more to come as the season progresses, and maybe this thing gets interesting. The Giants don't particularly deserve to be in the playoff hunt after everything right now, but that doesn't mean they can't get into it. They're not out of it entirely yet. It very well could come tomorrow or over the weekend. Death could be knocking on the door at any time, but he ain't here yet. And the Giants, at least tonight, showed that they can play the kind of baseball that will hold them off for quite a while. So let's see more of that. Robbie Ray on the bump tomorrow. Who would you rather have? Can't get Logan Webb back-to-back days. He ain't Cy Young. So, yeah, you're going to want Robbie Ray on the bump. Early game. Pittsburgh, just anemic today. Totally neutered. I'm liking it. Let's get a couple long balls, a great Robbie Ray start. go into a series against the Washington Nationals with a chance to make that series with the Padres starting Monday really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for some interest. I'm looking for a reason to watch outside of me hating myself, because there have been too many games this season where it's like, why are you watching this? Because I hate myself. Give me a reason to believe, San Francisco Giants. Good start tonight. We need plenty more of that in the days and hopefully weeks to come. We'll talk a little bit of Warriors on the other side, some 49ers a little bit deeper on in the show. Kurtenbach with you until 9 on the Sports Leader.
This is Sportsphone KNBR. Dial the digits or send us a text at 415-808-KNBR. We're streaming on YouTube all damn day at KNBR 1045.
We're back with you, the Sports Leader, Dieter Kurtenbach, until 9 p.m. So I missed this. You probably missed this. The Warriors did make an addition to their coaching staff not that long ago. Someone fairly familiar, Nick Kerr, Steve Kerr's son is going to join the Warriors coaching staff, and there's a conversation. This is some brain rot. This is some bad stuff I'm about to say. But there's a conversation happening over on Threads. Yes, Threads. Remember that? With Draymond Green, who apparently posts on Threads. Wonder how much he's getting paid for that. There's a conversation around Nick Kerr now being on his dad's coaching staff at the NBA level. And the question is nepotism, right? Is this just Nick Kerr getting the gig because his dad's in charge? And, just that's how it goes, right? You go and you work for daddy, a little bit of nepotism. And it's a conversation that's been happening heavily around sports. It's a conversation that around this time last year was front and center because of Bronny James going pick 55 to the LA Lakers, despite the fact that he averaged fewer than 10 points per game at USC his freshman year. And Draymond went and defended Nick Kerr, and I'm going to defend Nick Kerr on this one. Is it nepotism? Clearly. Like, it's impossible to say it's not some level of nepotism, right? You're hiring your son. Like, you're never beating those allegations that it's nepotism. But I will note that it's not as if Nick Kerr was working in, finance. It's not as if Nick Kerr was, an assistant high school basketball coach and daddy made the call and brought him on over. Nick Kerr was the head coach of the Santa Cruz Warriors for the last 2 years, and that is a tried and true pipeline for the Golden State Warriors, right? Steve, whenever they lose assistant coaches, Steve calls them up from the G League, and the young coaches that he likes, he puts them in the G League, and they have been running through that. And year in and year out, the Warriors keep losing assistant coaches because they're a well-coached basketball team and a hell of an operation, despite what some people on Threads or Twitter or X or Instagram might want to say. They've been running through coaches, and they have been using their farm system for coaching. And so if it's nepotism, the nepotism was set in place a long time ago when Nick Kerr was on the assistant. He was an assistant on the Santa Cruz Warriors, and then Coop comes up and he's now on the bench, and so now Nick Kerr takes over. And so, yeah, the nepotism is a little less severe than, hey, Nick Kerr is on the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors bench now because daddy made the call. If daddy made the call, it was to get him down in Santa Cruz. And by the way, Nick Kerr is a hell of a basketball coach, and he worked with San Antonio for like 3 years under Pop, which that might have been the call, right? Steve Kerr calling up his old friend Greg Popovich saying, hey, you got a spot for my son. I would like to note that that's the same thing that happened for Kyle Shanahan, right? It's the same thing that happened for Kyle Shanahan. Mike Shanahan's like, hey, John Gruden, you got a spot for my son? And John Gruden says, yeah, Mike Shanahan, I got a spot for him. He can go work with Monty Kiffin on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. And that's how Kyle Shanahan got his start. And then, yeah, there was some times when he worked for his dad in Washington, but Kyle Shanahan also paved his own path. And is it nepotism that Kyle Shanahan's an NFL head coach now? That feels kind of ridiculous. That feels like a ridiculous thing to say. Did he get a leg up on most other people? Did he have advantages that others didn't have? Yeah, so there's some nepotism there. But is that the reason he's an NFL head coach? No. Is nepotism the reason that Nick Kerr is an NBA assistant coach? No. Did he get a leg up? Did he get advantages that other people don't have because his dad has connections in the NBA? Like all the connections in the NBA? Absolutely. But you still have to make something out of those advantages. You have to make something out of it. And I'll say this, I will fully attest to this. Nick Kerr has made the most out of every advantage he's been given. He works for Greg Popovich, got glowing reviews in San Antonio, right? And one of the reasons he went to San Antonio is he wanted to pave his own path to a degree. But he also, is not opposed to working in the Warriors organization. And he worked for the Warriors for several years doing grinder work on the big league club behind the scenes. And that's where I got to know him. He's a great guy. And he's a hell of a coach. He's a very smart basketball mind. Probably smarter than his dad, if we're being honest about it. Just younger. less experienced, doesn't have rings on his fingers, at least on a high-profile level. Works behind the scenes with the Warriors. Hey, okay, assistant coaching job opens up with the Santa Cruz Warriors. Not exactly big money here. Nick, you want to take it. You've done a good job for us behind the scenes here after you did a good job in San Antonio. You want to take the Santa Cruz job. Yeah, keeps working his way up. I don't think at any of these junctures these promotions have been unjustified for Nick Kerr. Now, if Nick Kerr ends up being the next head coach of the Golden State Warriors, maybe that's too big of a leap. But as it stands right now, doesn't seem too different to me than, hey, Kyle Shanahan or, Sean McVay's grandfather was the architect of the 49ers dynasty. I mean, it's all about who you know, and it's nice if you can have Thanksgiving dinner with the guy you know or gal you know. And it should also be noted the Golden State Warriors, you think about their two biggest stars over the last 15 years, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. It's not nepotism, but you want to talk about a hell of a leg up. Both of their dads played in the NBA. And around the league, you look, all leagues, and you see a lot of guys whose fathers played in the NBA, whose mothers were professional athletes, and the leg up that gave them, absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. They can hit the ground running as professionals because they've been around it. Maybe that's the case for Nick Kerr. Not something I'm too worried about. Don't think Nick Kerr is going to change the path of the Golden State Warriors, but something that just came on to my timeline because, again, Threads. Draymond, what are you doing posting on Threads? What are you doing posting? Go do your podcast, buddy. 808 KNBR if you want to post on Threads audio style here on The Leader. We're going to talk some 49ers football on the other side. Kurtenbach with you until 9 on the Sports Leader.
This is where we feed the faithful. Sportsphone, KNBR. Streaming live at twitch.tv/The Sports Leader.
Hey, we're back with you, the Sports Leader. Dieter Kurtenbach until 9 p.m. We call it Sportsphone KNBR. I call it the West Coast Offensive because we do not care who we score points on here on this show. It seems as if the NFL got some points on George Kittle. Looks like the NFL is going to try to ban something that George Kittle loves, and I'm not talking about scoring touchdowns, and I'm not talking about Zins, baby. I'm talking about smelling salts, ammonia packets. George Kittle crashed Fred Warner's interview today on NFL Network, and he got some things off his chest. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, man, I mean, the goal, of course, is being in Levi's, beginning 2026. That's always the goal.
Sure. And George, hello, friend. How are you?
I honestly just came up here to air a grievance.
Oh.
Our team got a memo today that smelling salts and ammonia packets were made illegal in the NFL.
Wow.
And I've been distraught all day.
Okay.
Illegal? He even said that he's not practicing anymore.
I considered retirement.
Yeah. So they go ahead and bring that back for George Kittle.
Yeah, so we got to figure out a middle ground here, guys.
Yeah.
Somebody help me out. Somebody come up with a good idea.
Send
Fred,
an
it's
email.
on you.
Airing of grievances.
Yeah, that's all I had to get out there. I'll get that off my chest.
Is it before every drive? Is
I'm an every drive. I'm an every drive guy.
I've seen guys like that.
I'm an every drive guy.
In between every play, he
no, that's too much.
pulls out the
That's
sock.
way too much.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like the energy's still out here, though. I mean,
No, definitely. But I missed those already.
Well, they haven't been outlawed at practice.
No, we don't have them out practice.
Okay, all right, just checking.
That's all right. That was my only grievance, but besides that, you guys look fabulous.
We'll
Fred,
fix it.
It's all yours.
Thank you.
George, we'll do our best to help you out with that, man.
You did
See you,
great.
buddy.
Yep.
Well, that's an unfortunate development.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You know.
I didn't get the memo.
It just came out this morning, and obviously he's very distraught over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get him going.
Okay. 3 thoughts on this. The first one, both Kittle and Warner have a future in this broadcasting thing if they're so inclined. I hope they don't go the YouTube, day in the life, cult of personality route. I hope that they're actually broadcasters because Fred is so polished, so smart, can break the game down. He'd be great in a booth. He'd be great at a desk breaking down football. And maybe that's a YouTube thing. I don't even. What media is going to exist by the time these guys are done playing football? Maybe I'm behind the curve. We are talking on terrestrial radio after all. Kittle, all-time character, all-time personality, and I'll get very specific here. I could see him being the next Terry Bradshaw, right? Terry Bradshaw, that kind of now it's like kooky grandpa personality, but George Kittle can kind of bring that levity to any situation that he's in. I think he would be outstanding as Terry Bradshaw's maybe even successor. I don't know how long Terry's got, and I don't know how long George has got, but something to think about. If Draymond Green is Charles Barkley's successor, I got George Kittle as Terry Bradshaw's successor. Let's get to the real thing here. George Kittle, renowned funny guy, talking some ridiculous smack about the NFL and the smelling salts and stuff. I don't have a big take on smelling salts. I don't care. I don't care. I'll say this. Never question the heart of a football player, even the worst ones, even the ones who clearly don't seem to care as much as the other guys. The level of insanity that is necessary to play professional football, albeit for large sums of money, but maybe not enough money to justify playing professional football at some levels. The amount of work and sacrifice and, frankly, detrimental things, besides the football itself, that one has to do to their body to play professional football, I think it goes underreported. I think it goes underdiscussed. We like to talk about these things as an entertainment product, right? Removed from the humanity at times. But George Kittle is doing smelling salts before every drive. That's some hockey player nonsense. That's beyond being a bro, man. That's something. That's a category I can't even get into. I've done the smelling salts before, right? I think most of us, I'd imagine, have taken a whiff or two. They knock your socks off, man. That stuff makes your organs pucker. When I had my first kid, not sleeping very well. It took an hour to put her down for an hour. We had a 1-in, 1-out policy on sleep. So roughly 6 months in, I was dying. I was withering away internally. And I work a lot of nights, right? That's when sports happen. That's when I'm operating. That's when I'm getting paid, right? This is important to me. This is my job. I feel very strongly about it. Warriors are playing a game at 7:30 p.m. I'd like to be semi-conscious for it, even if I did have to fight a baby for the last 12 hours, or frankly, the last 12 weeks, just to sleep just a little bit. Please, just sleep a little bit. So I turned to anything that I could. Now, I don't like the taste of coffee, right? So the double espresso shot in the afternoon doesn't go for me. I drink Coke Zero, and there's only so much Coke Zero that one can consume in a single day before your body decides we're purging. We're everything must go. And I'm talking about maybe that's a little bit too graphic for this time of night. So I go, well, what can I do? Don't really like the taste. I did a lot of Mountain Dew. I had like snooze packets, like Zins that were just caffeine. I did Zins, like all of these things. I bought some smelling salts, and let me tell you, woke your ass up. Woke your ass up. Now, I stopped doing it because they're ammonia, and huffing ammonia doesn't seem great for your brain. Just a thought. I'm no scientist. I'm no medical expert. I've played one before. I don't do that anymore. Ammonia, not something that you want to just be huffing, right? If you get the smell of ammonia somewhere, probably want to avoid that room. Probably want to open a window. Now, George Kittle's doing this before every down. Might kill enough brain cells to justify playing professional football at the breakneck pace and energy level that George Kittle plays at. It'll also wake your ass up. And last year, I'm sure George Kittle needed his ass woken up a couple of times because the 49ers were somewhat of a slog to watch by NFL standards. But, man, yeah, I stopped doing them because it's like I probably shouldn't be huffing ammonia all the time. And that's, I think, where the NFL's coming from here. The NFL Head, Neck, and Spine Committee, which, what a term. What a string of words. The NFL Head, Neck, and Spine Committee had concerns that ammonia inhalants had the potential to mask certain neurologic signs and symptoms, including the signs of a potential concussion. That seems more like a feature, not a bug for the NFL, but I digress. The FDA had put out, apparently the FDA is still around, who knew? The FDA put out a note saying that there were potential negative effects from their use. Do you think huffing ammonia might have a negative effect? Do you think huffing a gas that we've known since we were in middle school, you need to like step out of the room, you can get high on it, right? You're gonna get a little lightheaded if you hang out in a room full of ammonia. Like, do you think that might have some negative effects if you're huffing that directly into your nostrils? Yeah, it might. Now, I asked Google Gemini, because that is what we do in this day and age. And by the way, hope you're enjoying the show. I'm sure that Google Gemini will be hosting it in a couple of weeks. But smelling salts, so this is what they told me when I said, what the hell do smelling salts do to your brain? Which I felt was a pretty direct question. Let's see what Google Gemini had to say here. Smelling salts, which typically contain a diluted form of ammonia, work by irritating the membranes in your nose and lungs. Again, tremendous sentences that we've had so far in this segment. The irritation triggers an inhalation reflex, causing you to breathe faster and more deeply. This involuntary response sends a sudden rush of oxygen to your brain, which can help a person who has fainted regain consciousness. So a very valid thing for like an EMT to have, and perhaps something that you need every now and again just to get the system going. Turn you into Cosmo Kramer for 5-10 minutes. Doing it before every drive sounds not ideal. But again, George Kittle is an adult man who can make his own health decisions. I wouldn't be shocked at all if George was sneaking around. George is going to work in the shadows to get these smelling salts going. Put a couple in a football glove. Why is George sniffing on a glove on the bench there? That's weird. Couldn't be anything in there. I imagine that George will find a way around this ban, and that is his right as an American. That is his right as a San Francisco 49er, and frankly, that is the way that it should be. But I did find this entire thing hilarious, and again, another reason why George Kittle should be the next Terry Bradshaw. And if he keeps huffing this ammonia, he might be on the same level as Terry Bradshaw here before it's all said and done. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but as Fred Warner said, as long as you got 85, you're good. I feel comfortable that whatever George Kittle does from here on out, and we hope that George Kittle is out here catching touchdown passes, Brock Purdy's number one target, I presume this year, though it sounds like he's doing pretty well with Ricky Pearsall. All that, I presume that George Kittle's going to be playing football for quite a long time, just signed a new contract. Even so, his future is very bright, even though he is huffing ammonia, triggering an inhalation reflex, causing you to breathe faster and more deeply, which sends a sudden rush of oxygen to your brain, which can help a person regain consciousness. So, NFL football players and at the end of their rope, first-time fathers, shaking hands, creating unity, a pairing unlike any other. Kurtenbach and Sportsphone, KNBR? Yeah, that sounds like a pairing unlike any other. We're hanging out until 9 p.m. on The Sports Leader.
This is where we feed the faithful. Sportsphone, KNBR. Streaming live at twitch.tv/the Sports Leader.
Hey, we're back with you on The Sports Leader. Let's talk a little 49ers here, and let's get into the subject that I like to talk about most with the 49ers, and it's not how many wins are they going to have or the schedule or Brock Purdy. Let's talk offensive line. Yeah. Let's talk about the real important issues as it pertains to the San Francisco 49ers. And we had Jake Hutchinson on the show last night, and we talked some 49ers for damn near an hour, and it's always a pleasure and always a privilege. We lightly touched on this. So if you listened last night, if you haven't already, you can go back and listen, of course, knbr.com/podcasts. I want to dive in deeper here because a little bit of news today. It probably did not show up on your radar. Can't blame you. You probably don't know who Caleb McGarry is, but Caleb McGarry is the right tackle for the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons have a hell of a run game. They have a pretty good offensive line. Who knows what that will be like with Drew Dahlman, their center, going to the Bears. I wanted him on the Niners. The whole thing there. Caleb McGarry was on a 3-year, $34.5 million deal. He's now on his third contract because today he signed a 2-year, $30 million extension. And Atlanta's feeling pretty good about that. That's $15 million a year for Caleb McGarry. And I can't say that that's too much or too little. It seems right on the number. You look around the NFL these days, and offensive line play it's something close to dire. It's a bad situation. It's like three-point shooting in the NBA. If you can do it just a little bit, you'll get paid a whole lot. And we saw this firsthand with the 49ers this offseason. It's not like the Niners signed anybody, but they let Aaron Banks go for $77 million. Aaron Banks, the team's guard, who, according to coaches that I talked to, was the weak link on the offensive line for the 49ers last year. The guy who every opposing defensive coordinator was attacking repeatedly, and the tape bears it out. If you wanted to get to Brock Purdy, you went through Aaron Banks, and he was very happy to help. He signed a $77 million contract with one of the 49ers' biggest rivals. So it's not as if they didn't have familiarity. It's not as if the Jacksonville Jaguars over in the AFC are like, what are the 49ers doing? Let's give that guy some money. No, the Packers are intimately familiar with how the 49ers operate and work and who's good and who's not. And they decided that Aaron Banks was really good, and they gave him $77 million, which I'm a big fan of because I think it's going to age like milk. I think that's a terrible deal, and that hurts the Packers, which helps the 49ers. So in a weird way, it was a win for the 49ers to lose a player. I think that Ben Barch, who will replace Aaron Banks at left guard, health permitting, was a significant upgrade when he did play instead of Banks last year. And albeit it was for like 6 quarters, but those 6 quarters fundamentally changed how the offensive line operated. And I remember being in the locker room. I believe he got injured in the Buffalo game, and that was when the season was over, so might have been some of this bleeding into everything. But I remember talking to other offensive linemen, the Niners offensive linemen, in the locker room after, and they were distraught They were just, and again, the season was over. I'm going to grade on the curve here. But they were like, Barch was so good, and we were finally getting to what it is we wanted to do as an offensive line because of Ben Barch. Because Aaron Banks was out, and his replacement proved to be more competent, the 49ers offensive line, which never really got going last year, felt like its season was over because Ben Barch was out. Now, Ben Barch is back. Aaron Banks is gone. Again, addition by subtraction is probably too strong a term. It's probably painting with too wide of a brush. But I think that was a win for the 49ers at left guard. $77 million. $77 million for Aaron Banks. That tells you we have a crazy marketplace. And then the Kansas City Chiefs signed Jalen Moore, who I like Jalen Moore a lot. Great guy, good offensive line, solid offensive lineman. But how would you really know that? Because Jalen Moore barely played. He would step in for Trent Williams every now and again. He would do the entirety of training camp as Trent Williams, because Trent Williams doesn't do training camp, nor should he. And as a swing tackle, he'd get in every now and again. But this is a guy with fewer than 1,000 snaps in the NFL. But he had a nice showing last year, unquestionably. A nice showing last year and a little bit more of extended playing time. And the Kansas City Chiefs, whose tackles last year were one of the many reasons that they lost in the Super Bowl, which, good problem to have. Like, what a disappointing season. You lost in the Super Bowl. Like, the Niners and the Chiefs can say that, and everybody else would just be tickled pink if they were able to go to the Super Bowl. Regardless, Jalen Moore, somewhat of an unknown entity around the league, got a $15 million a year contract from the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it should be noted that the Chiefs might not even start Jalen Moore because they are, Juwan Taylor, they got a whole bunch going on the offensive line, to be sure. But they made a very good draft pick in Josh Simmons. And Josh Simmons, who was one of my, I think he was my number 2 rated tackle on my big board behind Ama Membu, who a lot of people see as a guard, I think can play tackle. Josh Simmons comes in, and he looks like he's going to be the day one starter as a first-round pick. And that leaves Jalen Moore kind of out in no man's land. Well, that's the Kansas City Chiefs' problem now. Jalen Moore was the backup to Colton McKivitz and the backup to Trent Williams last year. He was worth $15 million on the open market to the Kansas City Chiefs. So what's Colton McKivitz going to get? Now, Colton McKivitz is a bit of a firebrand in this marketplace. You say his name and you get very strong responses, even from people who consistently complain to me about, hey, Dieter, you're coming on way too strong. These takes are too hot. Tone it down a little bit. It's not good for this market. You say Colton McKivitz to those people, and they're like, he's got to go. He's the problem. Get McKivitz out. They can't stand him. There are so many people who cannot stand him. And it is a classic case of anchoring. Pardon the pun with offensive line talk. Classic case of anchoring because, to be fair to those people, Colton McKivitz did suck for a good stretch of time. When he first stepped in as the team's right tackle, he was awful. He was terrible. And every now and again, he gets blown up, and you go, things never change. Colton McKivitz sucks. But here's the deal. Colton McKivitz really doesn't suck anymore. He's not great. You know what great is? You have Trent Williams there. Left tackle has been great for the 49ers for the better part of 2 decades now. So we know what a great offensive lineman at the tackle position looks like. But Colton McKivitz does not suck in the same way that Mike McGlinchey did not and does not suck. They might not be Penei Sewell, who, by the way, is overrated. Should be noted. Overrated player, in my opinion. Regardless, Mike McGlinchey, Mike McGlinchey, a couple of years ago, right in the Niners, like, we're not going to pay you. We can't do it. And he signed a 5-year deal for $87.5 million with the Denver Broncos, $17.5 million. It got up to $17.5 million because there was a bidding war for Mike McGlinchey, and the Broncos won. And now Jalen Moore makes $15. And now Caleb McGarry makes $15. And you might be wondering, what does this have to do with the 49ers? To either get to the damn point, what does this have to do with the San Francisco 49ers? I'll tell you right now. The 4 M's, as I call them, Moore, McKivitz, McCary, and McGlinchey. Moore's really messing it up. It could have been the mix. Moore, McKivitz, McCary, and McGlinchey, they were all effectively the same player last year. Now, Pro Football Focus, I have plenty of caveats I can throw on Pro Football Focus grades. But for the sake of this argument, it's a pretty good catch-all. Colton McKivitz last year, 72 grade. 72 in pass protection, 68 in run blocking. Okay. That was like 37th amongst all tackles in the NFL. Mike McGlinchey, 74 overall rating. That was 28th. Caleb McGarry, 29th, 74 rating. And then here's Jalen Moore, 75 rating, albeit on 271 snaps. So Colton McKivitz, McGarry, McGlinchey, Moore, they're all the same. They're all the same. They're all giving you exactly what you're looking for in a right tackle. You don't have to be great. You just have to be good enough. Hold the line. And that kind of a guy makes a minimum of $15 million a year. A minimum of $15 million a year now in the NFL. You can legitimately make the argument that Colton McKivitz, who is on the second year of a contract he signed with the 49ers before the 2024 season, that Colton McKivitz is on the most valuable contract that is not rookie in the NFL. Colton McKivitz is going to be paid $2.1 million in guaranteed money this year. He's going to be paid $5.3 against the salary cap. Colton McKivitz is making a third of what he could make on the open market right now. And there's a reason that he moved on from his agent. There's a reason that he went with Brock Purdy's guy, because he's looking at free agency going into his age 30 season after this year. And he's looking at $15 million or more, depending on how he plays. But the baseline now is $15 million. And even over the cap, the incredible website that helps us with all of the NFL salary cap mumbo jumbo, they always put in a OTC valuation. And a lot of times it's, they just plug in some numbers, and a lot of times it lacks important context, right? It doesn't explain, like with quarterbacks, it always undervalues because it doesn't factor in quarterback inflation and desperation and all these things. But the OTC valuation was spot on for last year. His value last year, $14.3 million. That's like the crazy conservative number, $14.3 million. He's going to make $15, $16 million. If his backup last year, Jalen Moore, is worth 15, if one of his most clear-cut peers, someone who is almost identical to him in every way, makes now 15 in McCary, if Mike McGlinchey, his predecessor, who, by the way, he's been just as good at both of them have bad reputations here in San Francisco, but their reputations 31 other places seem to be in pretty good shape. If Mike McGlinchey's making 17.5, what do you think Colton McKivitz is going to make at the end of the year? Savor it now, because I think Colton McKivitz is walking out the door at the end of the season. Long time away, and it might be a blessing by the time this season is over. In the same way that a lot of people felt it was a blessing when McKivitz left. I'm sorry, when McGlinchey left. But it is something to keep in mind this preseason. Colton McKivitz is a $15 million a year player now. Like it or not, that is the facts. So who's going to replace him next year? Because we know the 49ers don't like to use premium draft picks on offensive linemen, for the same reason that I believe offensive line play is god-awful around the NFL, and why guys like Jalen Moore and McCary and McGlinchey and McKivitz are making $15 million a year. If you're a little bit competent, you get paid a whole lot of money, because the college game is not producing competence. And this was a great offensive line class, in my opinion. Now, a lot of the guys that I really liked did have caveats about them, injury concerns, things of that nature. But I loved this offensive line class. And the 49ers, with their needs and where they were at, they decided, we're not going to take anybody until 7. They're not going to take anybody above grade. They're not going to draft someone early because of positional scarcity. They might have to do it at the end of this year, but it doesn't seem to be their MO. This is now back-to-back seasons where unless a guy falls to them in a perfect spot, we have a third-round grade on this guy. He is available in the third round. We're going to take him. And they're ruthless with the grades now. Unless that happens, they're going to have to replace Colton McKivitz this time next year from within. So the guys that I'm really watching on Thursday in the joint practice against Mike McGlinchey's Denver Broncos and in the preseason game on Saturday are guys like Austin Pleasance, who is going to be the right tackle backup this season, Spencer Burford, who's bumping out from guard to tackle, and I think looks fantastic at it. I am all in on the Spencer Burford tackle experiment. It's guys like Connor Colby, who I don't think they'll ever bump him out to tackle, but keep an eye on specifically Pleasance and Burford, and they're going to get a lot of run in the preseason. Very important snaps, right? Preseason might not matter to most, but to those guys, it matters a lot. Now, both of them, I believe, will be free agents, but they will be a lot cheaper than $15 million a year. Don't be surprised at all if this preseason is used as the audition for the 2026 season at the tackle position. Who wants to be the starting right tackle for the 2026 San Francisco 49ers? We'll find out in the 2025 preseason with Austin Pleasance, who has just looked awesome. Absolutely awesome. And Spencer Burford, who I'm all in on the tackle conversion. I can't wait to watch these guys in these preseason games. And again, not just this might be an audition, it wouldn't shock me at all at the end of camp if one of those two guys gets a contract so that the 49ers have some cost certainty and some confidence that they'll have their right tackle when Colton McKivitz, the much maligned but soon to be very rich Colton McKivitz, leaves at the end of next season. Just something we'd get in here before the end of the show. Kurtenbach with you until 9 on the Sports Leader.
The nighttime is the right time for Sportsphone KNBR. Let's go on the sports leader. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Back with you on the sports leader. Some not so awesome news coming down from the NFL, and it's not something that should come as any shock. It's not something that we didn't see coming, but it is something of note here. The NFL is starting to hand out suspensions. The NFL is looking at some of the transgressions that their players have undertaken in the offseason or even in season. And if your court case is wrapped up, the NFL is handing out some sweet suspensions as mandated by the collective bargaining agreement, and the first one of what I presume will be more than a few, and one that will affect the 49ers directly, happened today. So Jordan Addison had a DUI, what was it, back in 2024? Yeah. It was a year ago around now. So Addison had fallen asleep in his car around LAX. The cop knocked. He pled no contest. A very bad decision from Jordan Addison, who had a little bit of problems at USC as well. But his court case is wrapped up, and the NFL hands out 3-game suspensions for DUI. So Jordan Addison has a 3-game suspension to start the season for the Minnesota Vikings, which actually doesn't bode very well for the Vikings. They knew it was coming. It's one of those things, but with Justin Jefferson having really messed up his hamstring again, the opposite hamstring of the one that he ripped off the bone a couple of years back, that's a concern. That's your number one receiver for what is effectively a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. Now your number 2 in Jordan Addison's not going to be around for the first 3 games. The 49ers have to have their antenna up right now because this means that Demarcus Robinson, their free agent wide receiver signing, is going to get a 3-game suspension here. He got a DUI. I believe the court case is wrapped up. So at any moment now, and it might happen during the show, though I doubt it will go down until tomorrow or the next day or whatever. I don't know when it's going to go down. It should have gone down a long time ago, but the NFL likes to wait until the beginning of August, it seems. He's going to get a 3-game suspension. And again, it's not something that the 49ers are going to be blindsided by, but until it happens, you have to operate as if DeMarcus Robinson's going to be here because you can't prepare with him for week 1. You can't worry about the Seattle Seahawks in week 1 with DeMarcus Robinson. The problem is they don't really have any receivers. I'm a little bit concerned about this 49ers receiver room. And I'm not unique in this take, but this is a real issue here, and I can tell it's a real issue, and that the 49ers feel it's a real issue because they are constantly signing wide receivers. They are going through wide receivers left, right, and center. Today they signed Equanimeous St. Brown, if for no other reason than I get to say Equanimeous St. Brown on the air. But Andy Isabella, who they signed, and he's been bouncing around the league. He's a little bitty slot guy. He's their new Trent Taylor, if you will. He got injured within a practice or two. And so they're like, we got to get this guy out because we need the bodies. So Equanimeous St. Brown, come on down. And yes, they cut Isaiah Nayer, but Isaiah Nayer was a terrible wide receiver, and he was an undrafted free agent. Like, this team has a legitimate issue at wide receiver as it pertains to week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. And while that is still a month away, I don't have the utmost confidence that all of the issues that are at hand for the 49ers wide receivers will be resolved by then. So Brandon Ayuk doesn't even have a time frame for when he's coming back. Not surprising, his knee exploded. Everything was busted in there. There was like cartilage damage on the inside. Everything went. I will not operate as if Brandon Ayuk is going to help the 2025 San Francisco 49ers until I see him on the field helping the 2025 San Francisco 49ers. To me, this is a lost year. That knee injury was so significant. You know, like I know Jerry Rice tore his ACL and came back mid-season. Tore it at the beginning of the season, came back in the middle of the season. Steve Young tore his ACL and it came back in like 2 weeks. This is not that. This is not that, man. That thing exploded. So Brandon Ayuk, if he gives you anything this season, it's found money. Pardon the pun, given what went down in April. Demarcus Robinson, likely to be suspended, if not almost certainly going to be suspended for the first 3 games of the season. Now he's looked good, and you're still getting 14 games in theory from Demarcus Robinson, so you feel good about that. But again, week 1, Seattle, you don't have your number one in terms of payment wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk. You're not going to have the guy that you signed to replace him. You might not have Juwan Jennings. And now we're into real nitty-gritty problem times because the guy who was supposed to be your 4th wide receiver, right? The guy who was supposed to be the trump card for a wide receiver. If Ricky Pearsall is your 4th wide receiver, you got a hell of a room. If Ricky Pearsall is your number 1 receiver, and there might not be anybody in America higher on Ricky Pearsall than me, including perhaps even Ricky Pearsall, if Ricky Pearsall is your number 1 receiver, you got an issue. You got an issue. He should be a 2 or a 3. If he's your 4, you're in great shape. And it looked like he was going to be the 4. If you look at the depth chart and you turn off injuries in Madden, he's the 4. But he's your 1 in week 1 until I see Juwan Jennings on the field. Or, and maybe Demarcus Robinson just, the bureaucratic process doesn't hit him this year. The issues really are, after that, Jacob Cowing. I've liked what I've seen from Jacob Cowing. He's missed some time here. He's expected to be back in camp. But Jacob Cowing is a slot receiver. You can play him at Z a little bit, but he is, that was the operative word, little. And I like that he's bulked up. I like the potential of a Jacob Cowing this year. But I'm not rolling out there with Pearsall and Cowing and feeling like things are going to go okay. You have Russell Gage on your team. I would argue that he's your 3rd wide receiver at this point. Russell Gage. That ain't going to work. Tariq Owens is not an NFL caliber player. Isaiah Hodgins can be on your roster, but he shouldn't be somebody that you're relying upon to receive the football. Robbie Chosen is here as a camp body, as he was last year. If he's playing, you got an issue. Equanimous St. Brown, same thing. You're really relying now on Jordan Watkins, who himself has missed some time and who I'm a big fan of from his time at Ole Miss. I loved all those Ole Miss wide receivers. But Jordan Watkins, I remember the first thing that Kyle Shanahan said upon him being drafted is it's going to be hard for him to see the field. Kyle might be wrong. He might have to see the field a lot in the first couple of weeks. Because this Juwan Jennings situation, I know that there's been some mud thrown into the scenario by Richard Sherman. I can't tell you he's wrong. I can't tell you that Richard Sherman, who suggested that Juwan Jennings' calf injury might be tied to the fact that he's not getting paid as much as he wants to get paid. I can't tell you he's wrong. I don't think that the injury is fake, but I do think he's going to milk it. I don't see any reason with a calf why Juwan Jennings should be out there unless he has some fiscal reassurances that he'll be taken care of should he play on that calf and, oh, whoops, there goes the Achilles. Right? If you're Juwan Jennings, you got to look out for number 1 here, and that calf better be 200%. Otherwise, you end up in a Christian McCaffrey-like situation. Bilateral Achilles tendinitis? Wasn't that the term they finally gave it? Don't forget last year when Christian McCaffrey, I was there. He just pulled his calf a little bit. If the game was tomorrow, he'd play. How'd that turn out? That was a direct quote. If there was a game tomorrow, he'd play. Didn't play for weeks. Didn't play for months. Got on a flight to Germany mid-season. Turns out that his Achilles, both of them, had tendinitis. And he looks great in camp, and a year off, you can heal tendinitis, all that stuff. I'm feeling very good about Christian McCaffrey this year. But last year, rough go. Rough go. And if I'm Juwan Jennings, there's the cautionary tale right there. Don't be pushing yourself on the calf. Tyrese Halliburton, don't be pushing yourself on a calf injury. Jason Tatum, don't be pushing yourself on a calf injury. If I'm Juwan Jennings and I'm underpaid, as he very much is, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting generational wealth or double, triple my current salary because I'm a great player, a winning football player who a lot of teams would like to have on their team. If I'm Juwan Jennings and I got a calf injury, I ain't pushing it. I ain't pushing it because if I push it during training camp just to be a good team player, and I blow out my Achilles, there's no $20 million contract. There's no $15 million contract after that. I'm playing on the minimum for the rest of my career until I prove that I'm the same player that I was. And Jawan Jennings, let's be honest about this, doesn't have a lot of wiggle or burst to be sacrificing as the years go on, right? This is a guy who's already coming into the league relying on craft and wiles, the same way that veterans who've lost a step or two do. He didn't have a step or two to lose, so he better be careful with that calf. It might not be a direct contract ploy, but it's certainly a reason to not rush back onto the field. And if that means that he's not there in week 1 or week 2 or week 3, well, so be it. He's got to think about the 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 seasons. He's got to look out for number 1 here because the 49ers, I think rightfully so, are not keen on paying him like a number 1. So here's the wide receiver room, week 1, as I see it currently. Until new information arises, here's how I'm predicting it's going to go. And this is presuming the health of a good deal of depth players. But I'm expecting no Ayuk. That's a given. I'm expecting no Demarcus Robinson. I am 50-50 on Jennings being out there. Let's just say, for the sake of argument here, no. So your wide receiver room for week 1 would be Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, Jordan Watkins, Junior Bergen, who that will be an interesting thing to watch in preseason, how Junior Bergen looks returning punts. Because if he's really good at that, then he makes the team. If he doesn't look that good at it, and I haven't seen enough one way or another to make a determination, at least with my own eyes, I'm pretty quick with stuff like that. I'd like to think that 2 decades of scouting and finding players out of the muck and going through countless hours of tape week in and week out, I'd like to think that I can make a pretty good decision on a pretty short period of time. I'd like to think that I've honed some skills. I haven't seen enough from Junior Bergen to tell me one way or another. Preseason's going to tell me everything on this kid. I haven't seen him do anything as a wide receiver, though, even going back to his time in the Big Sky. He's there as a punt returner and a kick returner. He was drafted by the special teams coordinator, not by Kyle Shanahan. So you got Pearsall, Watkins, Cowing. Let's just give Bergen the benefit of the doubt here. That's 4. You're taking 5. St. Brown, Hodgkins, Gage, Owens. This is some dire stuff. This might be, as I laid it out, the worst wide receiver core in the NFL. And I repeat, I like what's going on with Jacob Cowing. I think Jordan Watkins has a ton of potential, and Ricky Pearsall is going to have a monster season, whether he's the 4th or the number 1 receiver. I love Ricky Pearsall. But just going through that list, the first 3 weeks might be really hairy for the San Francisco 49ers because Demarcus Robinson's not there. Who knew that Demarcus Robinson was the thing holding it all together? This is something to watch. And honestly, preseason, we talked about it with McKivitz. We talked about it as it pertained to Austin Pleasance and Spencer Burford. The preseason is huge for a guy like Watkins. The preseason's huge for a guy like Cowing. Preseason, you have a chance to make a team, Russell Gage. You got a chance to make a team, Tariq Owens, somehow. You got a chance to make a team, Junior Bergen. Isaiah Hodgkins, Robbie Chosen, Equineme St. Brown. You might just be camp bodies now, but you could be number 3 receivers for week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks in a month from now, given the way that everything's falling. And it might even convince the 49ers, you know what, we didn't really like Gabe Davis's medicals, but we don't really have a choice. We got to sign the guy. Hey, Amari Cooper, there's some rumors out there that you've retired, and I've been hearing those rumors since April, that he is not keen to play again, but here's a big pile of money. Would you be so interested in playing for us? I don't think that the Niners can justifiably go into the season with the wide receiver room as it's currently looking to bear out. And that's even with Jennings in tow, which would be a big help. But man, you want to talk about perhaps the Achilles heel of this team? I mean, safety is a big question mark. Defensive line is a big question mark, though I'm feeling a lot better about that than I was a couple of weeks ago. Purdy is going to have a lot on his shoulders, as expected. But wide receiver, is there's a reason these guys get paid $20-30 million a year now. It is a vitally important position, even in a Kyle Shanahan offense. And right now, I just don't. I'm looking at the depth chart as it stands on August 5th, and I don't like what I see. And some things are going to need to change in a positive direction for some of this anxiety that I'm feeling. And I imagine Kyle Shanahan's feeling 10x worth for some of that anxiety to subside. Because no Ayuk, presumably no Demarcus Robinson, and a very questionable Jennings takes this 49ers wide receiver group, which was middle of the pack, let's say, and it turns them into a bottom barrel receiving core where you're playing a lot of Luke Farrell so that you can get George Kittle out into the formation. And you are putting Christian McCaffrey in the slot a lot, and you are trying to find ways for the injured Isaac Guerrero to be on the field as maybe a Devon Achane clone. You are finding strange and peculiar ways to cover up for a massive deficiency, and at a certain point, you're going to become predictable as an offense. Kyle Shanahan has always put a premium on wide receivers who can block, a premium on wide receivers who can execute on timing routes and know where they need to be and get there on time. Kyle Shanahan has no sympathy for bad wide receiver play, and he, as it stands now, might be heading into the season with very questionable, and that is a generous interpretation, very questionable wide receiver play. I'm curious how the offense functions if that's the case. I'm not saying pay Juwan Jennings to make the calf injury go away. I'm not telling you that. I think that the 49ers are playing this right. I think Juwan Jennings is playing this right. But that is an unideal circumstance given all that's in play for the 49ers in 2025. So if you were to ask me, Dieter, what do you feel good about? There's a lot of things to feel good about with this 49ers team. I love the fact that D. Winters has stepped up and said, yeah, I'm the weak side linebacker. I love Renardo Green. I think Diamador Lenore is going to be outstanding on the outside. Upton Stout has been a revelation in the slot. That kid has got it. My concerns for safety with Malik Mustafa injured and Jair Brown being a total question mark have been subsided a bit because Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock have looked good in practice. They've looked serviceable. They're guys who should be in the NFL. Do you necessarily want them starting both of them? No, but you can start one of them and feel okay. The defensive line might have only one great player in Nick Bosa, but I think the floor is much, much higher than it was last season because C.J. West is there, because Alfred Collins, for all the negative things that we've heard about him so far, and they're valid. Those are valid opinions that have been thrown out there, and they've even been levied by his coaches. But he can hold the damn gap, which is something no one else on the 49ers defensive line could have said last year. You're going from Evan Anderson as your number one defensive tackle to Evan Anderson having to find a way to make this team at the end of this camp. So clearly there have been some improvements on the defensive line. I love what I've seen from Mykel Williams when he's been on the field. Bryce Huff, I think we might have overdid it with the praise when they first got him via trade from the Eagles, but he is clearly somebody who is going to be an asset for this team. I love Sam Aquanu. I think he's put on a little bit of weight. He looks a little bit more spry. His first full year knowing that he has a job in the NFL, I think big things are coming for Sam Aquanu. So I'm liking where the defensive line is at. I like where the offensive line is at. I feel like they actually have two viable tight ends these days. I like the running back situation. I really do. I think that the running back situation is sneaky good because Jordan James has shown up well. Isaac Guerrero, who got injured again, yes, but Isaac Guerrero has a chance to be a game-breaking kind of player. McCaffrey looks spry. And I don't know if it'll be Patrick Taylor because of special teams or Corey Kiner because he shows out in the preseason or even Amir Abdullah, who they just signed. But, like, any of those options as a fourth running back works for me. Like, I can get by on that. I mean, Taylor might be the worst option as a true running back, but he's such a good special teams player that I'm willing to make that sacrifice. You know what you have at your quarterback position. You have a great backup quarterback, I should note, these days. Bradley Carter's in there. He can zip the ball. I'm excited to see him in preseason. There's a lot of things to like. Hey, they finally figured out who their kicker is. They got a good punter now. Their long snapper's a beast. It's an absolute fire hydrant. Special teams should be really good. There's a lot of things to like about this 49ers team. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about this 49ers team. The Achilles heel for this team, and I pardon the pun because it is a very serious injury, and I know Jawan Jennings is thinking about it right now. The Achilles heel for this team might be their wide receiver situation, and as it stands today, I'm not sure how all this resolves, and I'm not sure if they can get to the point where they're feeling really good about where they stand at wide receiver come week 1 in Seattle. A lot of things to keep an eye on as the week progresses. Very important practices against the Denver Broncos. And then, of course, the preseason coming up on Saturday. 107.7 The Bone and KSFO will be your radio home for 49ers preseason football. Listen along with me if you will. We're going to wrap up the show on the other side. Kurtenbach with you until 9 on the Sports Leader.
Sportsphone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, back with you on the Sports Leader, and it's time to wrap up shop. Giants win. My goodness, the Giants finally beat the Pittsburgh Pirates. What a day it is. I imagine that there will be a parade when the team comes back. You beat the Pirates. Anything feels possible now. I kid, but it was a very nice win for the San Francisco Giants, and a necessary win, not just to win the game, but to win in the manner in which they won, to just whoop some ass, right? Logan Webb pitches great. The Giants lay 8 on the board. The long ball, what a concept, leading the way to victory, and they get a chance to take the series tomorrow. 9:35 first pitch, though. I don't know. The Pirates decided that they were going to come out of the dugout a couple of minutes late today, so maybe it's a 9:37 first pitch. Adjust accordingly. But yeah, tomorrow a chance for the Giants to win a series. For all the doom and gloom that I've been pushing, and it was certainly warranted last night, I'll give you that. I'll give myself that, a little bit of deference. That would be 2 series wins in 2 series to start August. And for a team that needs to win 2 out of every 3 games from here on out to even sniff the postseason, to even sniff that 90-win mark, a good start. But you need a good start from Robbie Ray tomorrow. Let's thank the man behind the board, the best in the business, the one, the only, Kyle Haar, for running the show tonight. Thanks to everybody who called and texted in as well. I'm Dieter Kurtenbach. I'll talk